Hi there. Yeah, it's me again. I've done no prep for this. I've just turned the camera on because I'm avoiding doing an episode because I'm so nervous. But anyway, Lisa here, Continental Drift Knits. If this is your first time watching me, thank you. If you're returning, thank you for being patient. I think it's been, this is like a confession. It's been 3 months since my last episode, but there's been a lot happening. So I think what I'm going to do today is just talk about the WIPs and a couple of things I've been doing in the last week or two. And then if I get in my groove, and then next week or the week after, I'll do something else. A little bit of life news at the end, and yeah, it's been busy. It's been a whole winter here in New Zealand since our last podcast. Oh, I think I was just coming back from Alaska last time. I can't remember where I went or what I did. So I know I was in Australia for a while. We had about 4 weeks ago, we came back, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we came back here. Might even be a bit longer. And yeah, we're in New Zealand at the moment. I'm in Queenstown, New Zealand. It's beautiful out. I wonder if I can show you my mountains. So that's called the Remarkables. That's a big ski area, and that's Lake Wakatipu. And then that's on my view outside. And you're sitting on top of a box of knitting, or box of yarn, a box of toilet paper, and 3 books. So have fun. All right, what I'm going to do, as I just said, is I'm just going to go through some WIPs, and this, I'm going to talk about this a little bit, which is an old but new thing. So what I did, before we start that, this is really jumbled, and I'm not doing multiple takes, so we're just doing it. It is as it is. So you can find me as Continental Drift Knits on Instagram. You can find me as CDK Podcast on Ravelry. I have an email, it's all below, or any show notes, anything I talk about will be below, links below, and we'll go from there. All right, so this is called the Turtle Dove 2 sweater. I looked it up. I think I knitted in 2020. It's knit in Drops Air, and the yarn is in the box underneath you, so forget that. I have one more ball left after sorting this out, but as you'll see, this has a really deep raglan, so my underarm is there and the raglan continues, so it's very deep raglan. I really like it. It's cozy, it's light, I wear it a lot. But there was one issue, and that was with the height. Actually, I'll put some B-roll in. With the height of the length of the body, and it had a split hem, every time I lifted my arms up, my hips dangled in the breeze, and that's not my style. So I have been wanting for about 3 years to extend it, and I've had a little bit of a project over the last year or two to modify some of my knits and pull out some of my knits that I'm never going to wear, but I love the yarn. There's one cardigan in Australia that I adore the yarn. I can't get the yarn anymore, and I never ever wear the knit because it has some issues for me, for my fit. Not necessarily pattern issues. It's a Kate Davies design. I think it's epistrophe, and it's too tight in the arms, got no short rows in the back, so it drop. I don't like anything that drops at the back of my neck. And I probably knit that years ago, but I want to rescue the yarn. It's John Arbon Viola, I think, which I don't think you can get anymore. But anyway, distracted. So I'll put some B-roll in of what I've done, and basically what I did was I cut off the hem because it's a mohair type product. It's a blown yarn, and the hem had felted in a little bit, so I just cut the hem off and then took me about 2 hours to rip out the twisted rib. I hate ripping out twisted rib, and I hate knitting twisted rib, I've decided. So I pulled out all the twisted rib. This was a split hem, so had a couple of small balls of this, which I've re-knit and reused. I reused basically everything I had except the full ball of yarn that I had left. So I then popped it on the needles, made sure I had the right number of stitches so I hadn't dropped any. Fortunately, I had a Ravelry page. I don't have a Ravelry page on everything. I've tried to do Ravelry pages since I started the podcast on everything. And now I'm using actually a new app, which I paid a couple of pounds for. And do you like my cockatoo? It's a Marini Forazzo. I can't read it. Maxwell and Williams, although he's just ended his association. Marini Ferlazzo, Ferlazz0, and he does lots of wonderful homewares with drawings on them, which I love. What was I talking about? Can't remember. Doesn't matter. Redoing yarns. Oh, so yeah, I made Ravelry projects. So I have enough Ravelry projects. I have lots of old Ravelry projects. Then I had about 10 years where I just was very haphazard putting them in. And then I've been fairly religious in the last year or two putting them all in. So I had one for this, which was great. It's the Turtle Dove 2 sweater. I think it's a free pattern. It was originally done by Melissa, who runs Sonda Yarn Co. And she had a shop called Espace Tricot, which is still in existence. And you can still get this, as far as I know, free. So it's great. It's a great pattern. It's quite slim arms, which suits the box. It's very boxy. My body's there, so it would have quite a lot. And it's a very, as I said, a very deep, quite shallow raglan. So the raglan actually goes down there. So I added 11 centimeters to the body, and then I did the twisted rib again. And then I washed it, blocked it, and I'm really happy. You can't really see where. The only thing I would say is there is a little bit more fuzz and halo and wear in the top part as opposed to the just recently knitted part, but nothing that anyone's ever going to notice really. So there you go. Turtle Dove 2 modified for me. I'm so rapt about that. So I think I modified a Mary Jane Muckles. No, was it Mary Jane? I think I showed it here. The vest that I modified, I'd knit it way too long, so now I wear that again, and it's just really nice to get stuff in my wardrobe more wearable or more desirable. So there you go. So that's all I've got as an FO, I think. I'm just looking at everything around me. So what I did is we are moving back to Australia at the end of this month. And so I knew that when I came back to New Zealand last time, and I really tried not to bring too much stuff. I bought a couple of projects that I knew I wanted to do over the over the sort of 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks we were here. But I didn't bring anything specific. So I didn't bring my spinning wheel. All my spinning's been left back in Melbourne. I didn't bring any big projects with me. But I knew I had some yarn here, and I knew I had a couple of projects already here, sitting here, and I've just brought a couple back to do. So let's have a look at what I brought back to do. Probably the first quick one was my half and half wrap in linen quill, and really I've not done much on this. I've just brought the first hank of yarn. So the other 5 are back in Melbourne, and once I finish this, it will just get packed away. So I'm just doing a couple of rows here and there, and of course I'm in the middle of a row. It's a very simple garter product. It's a bit of a product knit for me, although it is plain garter, and it's just, I'm using German short rows, and I'm up to there. I won't tell you what that says because it's R-rated, and got it in Alaska. And then I'm doing a 3-stitch edge, which looks a bit like a I-cord. But it's just slip the last 3, and on the next, slip the last 3 with the yarn in front, and you turn it round and start knitting. So it just pulls those last 3 stitches around like a little wrap. So that's not much is happening there. I'll have a link to the Ravelry projects down below so you can see the colorways, all that sort of stuff. And that's what I tend to keep all my projects in, travel bags. I'm so bad. I have got a couple of nice project bags, but I don't tend to use many. It's just me. So the next project I've been working on, which has been sitting here, and I'll put a sort of picture here, my latest picture, which was on Instagram, and it's a sort of half fisherman's rib. Actually, it's all knit, but on this side it's knit 1, knit into the rib below, or the stitch below, so it creates a rib style of look. However, this is the Bits and Bobs blanket. Forget who it's by. The problem with it is I did it wrong. So it is paid for pattern, but it's supposed to be like half fisherman's rib, but I did some modification. So I have to remember the modification I did. And unfortunately, sometimes I miss the modification and I do some alternative reality. But I'm just not worrying. I think this stash would be close to 10 years old. It's Rowan fine tweed. I got it when this was hugely discounted, and basically I've now done one lot of, I'm just knitting each ball till it runs out, and wherever it runs out I'm just replacing it. So it's not a scrappy project, but it is sort of a scrappy, it's a use it up project. Now it's a lovely big blanket, well, a personal blanket. Let me see, and I use this toggle, so it's just a sort of jumper toggle to hold my stitches up when I want to do so when I start this row now, I've got all my stitches in that space, but if I want to just pull it out to show you, ooh, it's quite long. So yeah, pretty happy with that. So I'm just starting, this particular color is 2 balls, So it's starting in reverse, and I'll go into the black, or navy blue actually, and then light blue, etc, etc. So I've got one more ball of each, and I'll go the other way, and then I've got 2 balls of grey, and I'll probably try and do an I-cord edge, I think. So that's the Rowan fine tweed. It's got lots of colours in it. Yeah. So that's my bits and bobs blanket. That's been going for a while, a couple of years. I don't worry too much about these things. I have a crocheted blanket. What one is it? I'll remember the name. I've had it going for 8 years, 10 years. 10 years, I think. 8 years. Probably 8 years. Yeah. I've got a temperature blanket from 2022 on the go back in Melbourne. That'll get done eventually. Okay, so that's 2 WIPs. I've got 7, I think, to show you, but one of them has reached an end for this trip because I've run out of yarn. So we had some very good news, which we've been sitting on for a while, because that's what you do with family. We had very, very good news that our son and his wife, my lovely daughter-in-law, are going to have a baby. They're going to have their first baby. So it's a tradition, if you could call one a tradition. Well, actually 2, actually 3. So this pattern my grandmother knitted for me, and so I actually have that shawl, I think. I can't remember. Packed away, and then so it's total of 3, no, total of 2 so far. Yeah, so my grandmother knitted it for me, I think so, unless I knitted it for them, for my kids. No, I don't think I knitted it before now. So anyway, 5 years ago when our first grandson was born, our first grandchild, I found the pattern and I said, okay, I'm going to knit an heirloom blanket for each family when they have a child. So the first one was done 5 years ago, and the second one is nearly done. So basically it's the Patons Featherlight Shawl, or Patons, depends on where you come from. It's a, now just to let you know that this has been knit multiple times. So I started a couple of years ago because I thought I'd get ahead of myself, and I managed to almost be complete this center garter square, and I spilled a cup of tea on it. Didn't come out, so I had to rip it all back to the end of the cup of tea stain, re-knit, which I did, and then sort of it hit a hiatus, and I was 60 rows into the really big border, and I can't really show this because it doesn't really want to be shown. It's still on needles, so it's still all scrunched up. But yeah, I was 60 rows into this, and I thought, that's horrible. When I picked it up again a couple of months ago, I thought, I can't stand this knit three sort of bind off that is being done on this edge. I thought, this is an heirloom, I can't do it. Anyway, I looked at my daughters and it doesn't seem to be an issue on that one. So I don't know whether it's just my knitting style or my tension or anything. And but it was just too bumpy, and I wasn't happy with it. So I ripped it all back. But what I realized was it was actually the edge of the garter that was wrong. So it was this edge, okay, of this part, not my pickup. So that meant I had to pull out to halfway again on the garter panel. So I ended up with that much of the garter panel. Back to that. And I actually recovered that yarn, and that yarn is, it's all been skeined, washed, and it's all folded, like twisted into a hank, ready to go, and I will use that when I get back. But I had a ball, a 200 gram ball, and basically I just knit until I ran out. So I've knit, I modified the pattern. In the pattern you do each border separately. So you do, it is a little bit more simple than a Shetland approach, but it is knit from the center out, which many of the Shetland shawls are knit from the border in. But this one, you normally just do one border at a time and knit the border up, and you sew up the corners. But I don't like sewing, and my sewing's very naff compared to I made nice centers, which I was very happy with. And so what I did was I picked up all the stitches right round, and because I was then not working backwards and forwards, it involved a lot of purl, because I was working in the round and I was doing basically a garter style panel, and I also increased every second row at each end, so the pattern says to increase one at end of one and then the end of the other row. I did my increases on every second row right round. So yeah, a few modifications, but I've tried to write down in my Ravelry page what modifications I made, because I have one more child. We don't know whether they'll have children, or he'll have children, but if he does, I've at least got the notes. And at the moment I'm in the middle of the final border, and I've nearly done 2 sides, so that's the first side I've done. And then this, I've sort of modified it so I could get round the corner, and then I've got to here. No, that's my start. I've got to here. So that was one whole border, and then I think I've only got, I've put the border all onto one, but I've only got that much to the second side being finished. So it's a 12 row, you knit that way, and you absorb each stitch. Every second row you absorb a stitch along the shawl, edge of the shawl, which makes it very stretchy. So I took a picture of my 3rd grandchild, my 3rd baby boy, the other day. He's 4.5 months old, and just before I came back I took a few snaps of him in his shawl. So yeah, my daughter's used them and used it, which is really good. And whenever she wants to wash it, if I'm back in Australia, I'm happy to wash it for her and lay it all out, pin it all out. I don't do a lot of pinning. I've got blocking wires, so I just put the points through and stretch it out and hold it down. But I don't fuss too much. It is a pure wool. It's by Bendigo Woollen Mills in Australia, and in Victoria, where we live. It's about 2 hours drive away, and it's in their luxury base 4-ply. I think it's cream. I'm pretty sure it's cream, but if that's wrong, you'll see on my Ravelry page. And if you need to know and you can't access Ravelry, please let me know. So that one is on hiatus now until I get back, and I have until March to finish that, so that will be well and truly finished early, but you know, I'll do a careful job on that, blocking that really well and presenting it and wrapping it beautifully for them in tissue and all the rest of it. So they know that's coming. They're not surprises in our family because I sit and knit all the time. So that's another one. So that's one, what's that? 2 blankets so far. 1, 2, 3. Oh, hang on. I've got to, I'm going to stop. Actually, I'll just edit this out. I'll leave it going. But I'll just go and grab the sock. All right, back again. Inspired by Leanne from the Knitty Stew, who has a podcast here. Leanne talked about her everyday, DRK everyday socks. And I had these are Shirley Bryan yarns. And I had finished one and need to do my second. I'm not going to say anything. So I cast on last night. I've done the Turkish cast on and I've just started the ribbing. And what I realised is I've done the last sock 4 stitches less than what I should have. It's a little bit firm. So I'm going to modify this sock slightly. Using 68 stitches. I use 2mm needles, magic loop. I can do DPNs, doesn't bother me. 2mm magic loop, and I think this has a Flegel heel. Yeah, they're just a little bit firm up the top. I sort of want to rip down. I'm in a rip out mood. I sort of want to rip down and do it again, but it's taken me a year to nearly do these. So anyway, that's not much to show you yet. And that's the yarn. So that is WIP number 4. I think I've only got 3 more to show you. What's this one? Ooh. I've got 1, 2 more after this. Yeah, I think that's right. I've just got everything around me. It's a mess. So I was bored the other day and I decided I really, really like the shawl, the Simon shawl by Twinset and Purl. So let's talk about me and shawls. I tend to like a really big shawl. If I'm going to wear a shawl, it's part of what I'm wearing rather than something you put on with a coat to go outside. Because in reality, in Australia, in New Zealand, you put a coat on and you hop in the car and you drive to where you go, and then you hop out of the car and then you walk to wherever you're going to go. And I use a lot more coats and hats and that sort of thing in New Zealand, but realistically in Melbourne, our lowest temperatures in winter, you might get a 0 degree morning frost occasionally, but essentially our low highs are 8 to 12 degrees C, which is not that cold really. So I do wear some hats, I do wear some shawls, but I don't wear shawls a lot. And I have a couple of shawls I really enjoy wearing, and I wear quite, you know, in winter I'll be happy to wear them. There is 1 or 2 which I'm actually thinking of ripping out because they're the wrong shape. They're too small. They don't wrap around enough, okay? They've got to be long enough for me. Otherwise they drive me nuts. So I think this will be long enough. If it's not, I'll give it away. I had this is stash, so that I had here in New Zealand. So I had 2 Zorba balls. That's an unused one. Colour Herbstone, Farb 1537. So this is the Zorba Ball Crazy. And then I had this mystery yarn. I don't know what it is. Doesn't have any, I've obviously used it for something. I think it's like a mini alpaca strip, a Sandiscan or a Dale or a, I've had it a very long time. Now, I may not have enough of this. However, I'm going for it. So I'm knitting the Simon shawl. So I think I've got the same amount there, which says I won't have enough because I'm not out of the increases yet, and I assume the decreases are same. So if I'm only just getting out of the increases, I've got nothing for the straight part of the shawl. So I will have to use my alternate plan, but that's fine. So this, okay, loving knitting this. Fantastic change in colour. I really love the texture. I'm going to love wearing it. The only problem is, and maybe someone can help me who has knitted one of these, I'm having trouble tracking the decreases. I think I'm going to have to go to stitch markers, but the problem is the decreases are every, so section 3, which is probably the biggest section, it's probably 100 plus rows in section 3. They're every third colour, so they're every 6th row, and I have trouble tracking them, so I have to mark every time, and I use it digitally on my, I just put my patterns into Apple Books and use the markup, tap the markup and tick off when I've done something. But it's a little bit tedious, and I've obviously at points I think gone wrong, like it's got a little bulge or a little dip in it, and on this side I definitely went wrong. I decreased and then I had to increase again. So I've got a decrease and an increase there. Oops. So I don't know what I was doing there, but I love the texture, and I could imagine so many of these. So this is the color changing absorbable. So it's really navies, blacks, reds and oranges. And I'm really enjoying that. I'm participating in the T&P. There's 2 make-alongs. One is by Ruth Loves to Knit, and the other one is by Twinset and Purl themselves. There's the Family Cow. I'll put the hashtags down below. And I'm also thinking of putting this in for Laura Penrose's To Me, For Me, Mal. So, because it's for me. And I think it'll look really lovely. Like, there's so many options. Rachel's about to do one from Twinset and Purl. Rachel's about to do one with 2 huge, fluffy, almost DK weight series. Which would be amazing. It'll completely mute out the pattern. But if you go and look at this particular pattern on Ravelry, you'll see so many like crisp ones and muted ones and color changing ones, and yeah, and it's long. So I'm not yet at the knit straight part. So I'm only a few rows, 5 or 6 rows, and then I've got a whole section, probably that much, which is straight, and then this again. So it's nice and long, and I think that's one of the reasons I picked it. So that's called the Simon Shawl by Joanne Butler, I think. Anyway, I have all the details down below, and that's in my Lumen spindle bag, which they make themselves. Australian natives. Forgotten the name of the fabrics. I've seen the fabrics. You can buy the fabrics for this in Spotlight if you're in Australia or New Zealand. So that's the Simon shawl. How many more have I got left? 1, 2, I've still got 3. I found another one. Sorry. So these are all active, okay, apart from the lace shawl. They're all getting some work. The half and half wrap's probably only got about 6 rows on it. But everything else is either started here or like the Bits and Bobs blanket. I've probably done another one. I've done sort of that much. I should put progress keepers on, shouldn't I? I don't really have any. I need to buy some progress keepers. I'm going to Gore in New Zealand, South Island. It's about a 2-hour drive from here in October to the Gore Open Day, and I'm really looking forward to seeing friends and staying overnight, and hoping that Amy from Handmaiden NZ, please Amy, could you put some point protectors and some progress keepers in, and I will buy some. So WIP number 85, not really, but 3 to go. See, told you, it's 36 minutes. That's lucky we didn't do any finished objects, because I haven't stopped knitting and I've done lots of finished objects. Maybe I'll do a finished object, what I've finished over the last 3 months podcast in a couple of weeks. So a beautiful job here that I have been working on is called the Sway Line Sweater, and this is for my mum. It's not really my colours, so that's why you might have guessed. So it's a okay, so the neck's been done a couple of times, so we're looking a little bit manky at the moment. It needs blocking, but it's being made from Zilana. Oops. Here we go. Okay, Zilana Air in lace weight, shade A10. That's pretty good. And Rowan Kid Silk Haze in shade 583. So I'm putting those two together, and I'm making this for my mum. So it's Possum Merino. The Zilana Air is Possum Merino. So it's Possum Merino and mohair. Very soft, very light, very warm. So we're going into spring here in Australia and New Zealand. So I am not under pressure to have this done until probably March next year, but I do want to do it. I've just stopped for a week or two. I want to think about it, because I feel like my gauge is a little bit off maybe, and it's coming out slightly bigger than I want it to, and I don't have mum here to try it on. So we've sort of measured one of her favourite jumpers, and I think that's the right side because the other side has short rows, and it's sort of has this wavy raglan detail. These are twisted rib. Ask me why I know I don't like twisted rib, but it does have a beautiful definition, and basically you gradually increase and increase and increase, and I believe half of that will become sleeve and half will become body of that twisted rib, and the same with that twisted rib, and then that center line rib will run down the middle of the sleeve, and there are a couple of lines of twisted, swaying lines of twisted rib that go down. So it's really just a raglan. And once I'm happy with the yoke depth, and I am tempted to wait until I get back. I keep trying it on myself. I'm bigger than my mum, but in terms of fit, if I fitted it to me a little bit closer, I know it's going to be a little bit looser on her, and she wants a little bit looser, but I am a little bit worried about this neck, that the neck's going to bag out a little bit. But I could put some elastic in the base. She'd like a mock neck, so we're going to leave the neck as it is. It was originally a longer neck that was going to be folded and had a purl row, and Purl row just stuck out to me, and Mum says, oh, leave it, don't worry about it, I'll just wear it with the Purl, wear it up like this with the Purl row sitting out. No. But the problem is it's top down, and so I had to cut the neck. I had to cut the neck off and knit it up again. Anyway, it was a bit of a nightmare. So, oh no, I know what I did. I cut the stitches below the Purl row, and I thought, I could just knit up from there. But when you are knitting down and you then want to knit up, you're actually half a stitch out. Because this is twisted rib, it became really obvious and it didn't look good. So I then ripped right back down to the base and started again. So anyway, I'd like this a little bit closer to the neck than it currently is. I think it's going to sit out a little bit wide, but I probably need to try it on again myself. I have some thoughts. It'll be okay. It's just nervousness. It's very expensive yarn, and Mum's contributed to it, and I just don't want to muck it up. And she'll be going, oh, don't be silly, you won't muck it up, you're a beautiful knitter. Yes, I am, but that's because I get nervous and I check things and triple check things and rip things back. So we might wait until I am back in about 6 weeks. We'll see. Not sure. All right, so that's the sway line sweater, and I will have all the details there. As I said, I came with no notes today. I just turned the camera on because I thought, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. And I really wanted to do it, and I love interacting with the community, although I think I haven't actually gone back to people. Oh, I thought that was my husband arriving home, but it's not. Okay. He's at golf still. Okay, 2 more to go. We're at 42 minutes. Rip in. So every grandbaby gets their own blanket that their mum, normally mum, has consulted with me on. And I normally like to do it in a pure wool or a pure cotton. And I say to them, I'm happy to wash it for you. So we've chosen Laura Penrose's Stella Quilt expansion pack, and we've chosen the Pinwheel. Now, but I've changed things. So effectively, it's no reflection on the pattern, but for me, I don't have a need to join as you go. This one was joined as you go. This one is as per the pattern. I don't think my stitching is good enough to have heirloom level pattern. Like, it's not neat enough for me, okay? And because of the joins, they're slightly different on different joins. And also, I think I can fix that bit. I can just pull that in and sew over the white bits. So that's fine. But in principle, if you look from a distance, it's going to be 6 colours. And it's done in Wild Earth yarns. It's in their Eden 8 ply. Okay, so that's one of the colours. Oh, let's see if I can get the bag. I've just ordered the rest of the yarn. So it's that one. No. They don't know whether it's girl or a boy. So we've got some pale colours. And we've got a pink. Oops. And we've got the purple. So they're the 6 colours. So basically I've ordered the rest of the yarn. I'm doing it all on double pointed needles. So what I've decided to do, I've decided to make all of the squares individually. So I had a go the other day, and I've actually pulled them all apart. I've just pulled these apart. But I did, so each one's made up of 4 of these, and you knit them from one end down to the other end. And I mattress stitched them, and I was way happier with the look. So I'm going to mattress stitch these. It makes the project really portable because I'm using 50-gram balls. I can get 6 half triangles out of a 50-gram ball. So I can take 2 balls with me, a pair of double pointed needles, and I can create 6 squares. So that's fine. I'm going to do 3 pinwheels, so there'll be 18 pinwheels altogether, I think. I'll lay it all out when I've done that and just check that I'm happy. And basically, I'm going to mattress stitch them. They're going to take me 15 minutes to mattress stitch, and I'll just do all the ends. That's fine. It's just like a granny square project. And I know join as you go. Look, it's funny. I'm doing her sweet shop blanket, and I'm doing join as you go, and it's all my scraps, and I'm really happy. It's just, I do take a little extra fuss when it comes to the grandkids blankets, because I want them to be able to keep them for 50 years. So, yeah. The 3 boys all have, my daughter's 3 boys all have, I nearly said their names. We don't say their names on public internet. Yeah, all 3 boys have their special blankets, and hopefully if they don't want them anymore or their mum doesn't want them, they can give them back to me. Thanks. Yeah. So, but there's no indication that they won't want them at this stage. They like to curl up in them, sit on them, use them. They go through phases too. Sometimes they'll use them, sometimes they don't. So this is for grandbaby number 4, first child of my second born. And it's the Stella Quilt by Laura Penrose, but it's the pinwheel. It's part of the expansion pack. So you can buy the pattern and then you buy the expansion pack for a couple of £. It's really not that expensive. So that's great. So Wild Earth Yarns, they produce, so this is locally produced, I think. Doesn't say on the balls of wool, I don't think. 100% Polwarth wool, made in New Zealand, and I think it's all it's sourced and processed and spun all on the South Island of New Zealand. So it's a bit special. They've actually been twice to New Zealand, and it's sort of a bit, I try and tie in some special things with their blankets, a special story if I can. It's cold, but that's okay. Last one. Do you reckon we can finish in under an hour? I better scoot because I've got some news. All right. So this one I cast on yesterday and I bought yarn for it. Oh no. So I had bought 1 ball of this yarn. Where is it? Oh, by the way, I bought that on special the other day. I was in Dunedin, and it's a pretty good match for the orange in the Simon shawl, so that's my backup plan. But this yarn, I had bought one ball of this. I'd bought 1 ball of this Cruchy Brackenvale 8-ply, 100% wool, including the binder. So it's a blown yarn. I think it's a blown yarn. It's a bit hard to tell. But essentially, it's like a chainette construction. And then so the chainette construction is a dark grey, and then it's got this sort of yellowy, muddy green blown into it, or part of it. So it's 100% wool, including the binder. Average length 50 grams, average length 170 meters. So it's a DK, but it's almost a fingering weight length. So 100 grams would be 340. So it's probably sport weight in terms of its what we would normally get out of a sport weight. So this is named Sundance, and it's pure Australian wool processed in China. Okay, and hand wash or gentle machine wash, do not spin. So treat it like you treat it wool. Anyway, I've wanted to knit the Nebula top jumper sweater by Andrea Mowry. It came out earlier this year. I'll put a picture of it up here. And so I'm doing it in this. I'm really happy with it. It's so light. It's incredible. So I'm just on my first ball. I've still probably got half a ball to go. It's going to go a long way. It was on special. It was $7.90 a ball, New Zealand money. So if you are in the States, that's like $3.50 or $4, you know, a ball. And I needed 5 or 6 balls. I think I bought 5. But I've got another one in, might have a different dye lot, but I just bought the 5. So for me that was under $40, which is under £20. Actually it's probably a bit more than half, maybe, for US dollar. I can't remember what the US dollar is against the, and then my phone's there. You're on my phone. So, but it's very cheap. Very, very cheap. So I thought I'd just have a go and see whether, what I'm trying to do is just find some alternatives. I am finding the yarn hand-dyed, indie-dyed. It's got its place. I love it. I've got so much of it. But the overseas yarn is very expensive for us. And if I can find some fun things to do that are in cheaper Australian, New Zealand yarns, then maybe that's a good way to do it. So I've just finished the short rows and I'm about to start the body round and round and round. You increase 3 or 4 increases over the hips, and I haven't decided whether I'll do a short sleeve or a long sleeve version yet. Might do a long sleeve version if I've got enough yarn. So it's just one of those things. It'll just whip up pretty quickly, and I have enough whips, but I got bored, and so nothing was feeding the jam. So I cast this on yesterday, and that's what I've been knitting on this morning. So there's lots for me to do. I'm waiting on yarn for the Polwarth, the Eden from Wild Earth Yarns. I'm sort of waiting with Mums for the Swayline sweater. Once I run out of that ball, I'm finished this trip with the half and half. I finished this trip with the half and half for the heirloom blanket. I can do the socks, I can do this, I can do the bits and bobs blanket, and next week I'll be able to get onto the pinwheel blanket. So there's lots to do. There's plenty here, and I'm not run out. Like, I've got a whole box of yarn here which I have to fit in a suitcase. So that brings me, I'm going to do 5 minutes of, I can do knit and chat actually. I've been loving watching podcasts and that sort of thing, but yeah, I have some news. Everything's okay, but we've made the decision to move back to Melbourne. Just got well, as of next year, we'll have 4 grandchildren. They grow so fast. And I'll put a little picture of my littlest one, who's now a chunky 4.5-month-old, which is so gorgeous. He's a little monkey. And yeah, we miss them. I hate being away from them. So, and also all of our parents are still with us, thank goodness. But they all are needing more help. They're all in their 80s. They're all between, I think, 81 and 84. And they just need more assistance than we can give them, being this far away. And so we're happy to do that. We had a 5-year plan to be away from Australia. It's 10 years next January since we left, so it's about time. So we've decided to go back. So we're putting this house on the market in New Zealand. We've decided to simplify our lives. We don't have to sell it, but it's part of our retirement plan. But it will make it a lot simpler not having a house in another country. So we decided to put it on the market. The photos get taken next week. And if you want a bolt hole in New Zealand, you're more than welcome to have a look. So we go on the market on the 1st of October, and I think there's an auction on the 22nd of October. That's why the real estate agent wants to run it, and that's fine. So we've been madly running around, sorting, selling stuff on Marketplace. We've made the decision not to ship stuff back. So this house was bought all inclusive. So beds, linen, couches, cutlery, everything. So what we call walk in, walk out. And that's the way we'll sell it again. We've done a fair bit of work to the place, and pretty happy with what we've done. And I think we'll hopefully see the reward of that. But if we don't sell it, it's not the end of the world. We can just hang on to it and rent it out, and it's not a big problem. So that's what we're doing. And on November the 3rd, Sunday afternoon, November the 3rd, we land in Australia, and it's very momentous for us because that's us coming home. So we've been away a long time, and we're looking forward to settling in one place. But 5 days later, I have to have a hip replacement. Oh God, I can't believe it. I'm like, oops, sorry, I knocked you. I'm 58. Like, really? So the backstory really quickly is I've probably had 4 years, probably the last 4 years, my hip's been getting stiffer, my left hip. Just weird stuff. Like, I've been doing PT. I've tried to get a little bit fitter and a little bit healthier over the last 4 or 5 years, and been doing some PT, and I'd say to the PT, I'd say, I don't understand. I can't move this hip in this direction. Just won't move. Doesn't hurt. Just won't move. Anyway. I should have gone ding, ding, ding. Anyway, I didn't. I didn't do anything about it. And then we moved here, and I didn't do anything about it. Anyway, Christmas last year, I had some really bad back spasms, and had to have physiotherapy. And then when I came back from Alaska and Australia, I just really struggled physically. My back went into terrible back spasm for days. Quite often when you have back spasm, like, it's bad for a day or two, and then like the spasms easing out over the next few days. Well, this went for days and days, and I could hardly move. Anyway, I had physiotherapy, and she said, I think you should have an x-ray. Had an x-ray. And I said, look, while we're doing an x-ray, could we do an x-ray on my left hip, because it's really stiff and I probably need to get it checked out. You know, when I go back to Melbourne, I'll get it all checked out. So we did that, and it came back moderate osteoarthritis. And I also developed a problem with my left Achilles. So I've been limping around pretty much. It's funny, my daughter actually says to me, you were limping last year. So I don't even realise that I had been limping. But I'm limping more prominently now. So when we went back to Melbourne for 6 weeks last time, I went to see a surgeon. I had a good friend who's had one knee replacement, about to have another one. She gave me 3 names in Melbourne, because Melbourne's a big city, and the available orthopaedic surgeons to have a look were good. And anyway, picked one that had lots of alternatives in his on his website. You know, injections, hyaluronic injections, cortisone injections, nerve ablation, hip arthroscopy. So I thought, oh, well, he's into doing different things, and I need to just get a management plan for the next 10 years. My grandfather had a hip replacement, and my mum has some arthritis. So I went and saw him. He said to me, there's nothing else we can do for it. You need a hip replacement. He said, I'm looking at your x-ray. You've got one leg length shorter than the other, and you're limping. He said, basically, I wouldn't waste your money on anything else, and you need a hip replacement. And I went, what? Anyway, so I walked out of there. I thought, oh, that's ridiculous. So I booked with another surgeon. Talk about not listen. But I needed time. Anyway, I booked with another surgeon, and he just took one look at the x-ray and said, no, there's nothing else we can do for it. That's a very arthritic hip, and you need to have a hip replacement, whether you have it now, whether you have it later. It's up to you entirely, but it needs to be done. And he said, you could throw a hyaluronic acid HA injection into it. He said, may or may not do any good. He said, but you can't have surgery within 3 months of an injection. So that was fine. I decided to do the injection. I had the injection done. I had 2 days where I couldn't feel my hip, which was great. Like, I wasn't feeling sore or crunchy. And then it was back the same. So things developed also post my back being sore, and the surgeon said, yes, you have a pelvic ring. And he said, what's happened is your hips are now out of alignment, because when you walk, your left hip is having to go down further to meet the ground, because you've lost your cartilage, and so your leg is shorter on the left than it is on the right. So essentially, I have to go down further every time I and that's spasming my back. I also have developed pain in the last 3 months since the back spasms. I've developed pain in the left hip, and what I notice is that I have been modifying my lifestyle. I don't walk really, and the reason I don't walk is I get very sore, very achy generally around the hip area. And so I don't walk at all. Anyway, I've got more and more immobile in terms of being able to do stuff with the family, with the kids. I'd end up absolutely exhausted after one sort of day with the kids, or doing housework and that sort of stuff. So anyway, I had the injection, didn't really do much. When I was having the injection, and the CT tech, she's a bit older than me, and she's seen thousands of them. And I said, oh, I don't think that's supposed to look like that, pointing to the screen. She said, no, that's a very bad hip. You should get it done. So I went, that's another thing. She's got no vested interest. And then, so I booked with the original surgeon. because he was the first one that was right and he appealed to me. I felt communication was a bit easy with him. It's going to be done locally to me in Australia, and I'm having it done 5 days after we get back on the 8th of November. So if you've had a hip replacement, or if you know someone who's had a hip replacement in the last probably 5 years, because going back they were a bit different. Don't need any advice from someone who had one 20 years ago, except to say, oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm going in, and so I can't drive for 4 weeks, so I'll have my knitting, have my spinning, and I'll be a bit homebound, but that's okay. We're just looking forward to, my surgeon says I'll be walking 1 kilometre within a week, within 6 weeks. A week. Within 6 weeks, I'll be walking 1 kilometre. So I'm hanging on to that, because I don't think I've walked 1 kilometre in a good 6 months. Maybe in Alaska I did, but I was very sore by the end of it. So then again, he didn't guarantee me I wouldn't be sore by then. But anyway, so we're having it done then, because we're due to go on a work/holiday trip to Europe in late January, and that'll be 3 months or just under, and he said that's absolutely fine to do that. Check that off. So that's my life news. Nothing huge, just moving countries, moving houses, selling houses, and having hip replacement. So there you go. I'm going to quit here because I'm 1 hour and 6, and my husband's trying to ring me. Oh crap. Anyway, he'll be fine. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to go and ring him back, see what he wanted, and I will see you all next time. Hopefully I won't leave at 3 months, and maybe I'll come on here and talk a bit more about the finish. Although most of my finished objects, I've had lots of hats done, and I've done lots of what do you call them? Nappy covers, diaper covers. My daughter's decided to do cloth nappies for her 3rd child, so economically that's working out really well. And I've done some wool covers for her, which she relanolized, and they're working very well for her. So they've been fun to do. So yeah, so I hope you're all well, and I hope that I hear from you in the comments. Say hi, tell me what you're working on. For those in the Northern Hemisphere, you're heading into autumn and fall. And for those with me here in the South, we are looking forward to spring and summer desperately now, and some longer days for me. Anyway, I'm looking forward to longer days, summer days, and some warmer weather. So that'll be really good. Hope you're well. See ya.